What's up? What's up? Welcome
How we
back to the
doing?
Podium Proof F1 podcast. As always, I'm Frank Alessi,
And this is Michael Bell.
sitting in for my brother David here. Got Michael joining us again. He was with us before on the what was it?
Bahrain testing preview.
That's right. That's right. One of the
Yeah,
season warm-up episodes.
it's
So
good
it's
to
been
be
a hot
back.
minute. Been a hot minute. Welcome back, man.
It's crazy halfway through the season already.
I know. I know. It's been a wild one. uh one that I don't know. I would have loved to have seen the odds on DraftKings or Caesar Sportsbook or something like that of Red Bull going. What are we at? 12 for 12 now?
Yeah, and we thought going into the season, Ferrari and Red Bull were going to renew the rivalry, and it's just been Max show.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, look, Max got the win done again in Monza. No surprise there.
Yeah,
And made it 10 in a row.
Woo,
Record setting,
record.
unprecedented 10 in a row. We're
And that's
talking
within the season too. That's not even like bridging over from last season.
right. Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. You know, I mean, look, we're talking about a record that he stands alone with, something that in the best years, Lewis Hamilton didn't do it. Michael Schumacher didn't do it. Ayrton Senna didn't do it. I mean, 10 in a row.
Yeah, Schumacher. I was trying to think of, and I just heard about that, the teammate debate Lewis was bringing up with, Max hasn't had the teammates that he's had. And you kind of wonder, if he was in the same situation, would he have gotten to the 10 wins in a row?
You know, that's an interesting point. I think I'm gonna be honest. At this point in Max's career, I really don't think it matters.
Yeah.
I don't like this season, the way he's driving right now. I really don't think it would matter who his teammate is. Man, he's just at such a high freaking level. I mean, obviously, like if you pair him up with Fernando, maybe
Right.
Fernando gets one over on him, or maybe he doesn't. I mean, it's like I don't know what to think of that comment from Lewis, because it's like
You think he's
let,
jealous? You think it's like,
let's not kid ourselves. I think I wouldn't say jealous,
yeah,
but I think they just Mercedes as a whole, from just their whole demeanor in the last 2 years. I don't think I still think they're trying to figure out how to cope with where they're at
that's a good point.
in public.
Yeah.
Like I think they're internally, I think they're fine. I think they're doing everything they can. They're all on. They're all on the right page, on the same page. But I think publicly, I think it's a struggle for them to have to answer a lot of the questions that get posed to them.
To me, it kind of sounds like boomer talk. When we're talking to the younger kids nowadays, and we tell them, we had dial-up internet. Look at your
Right.
fast speed. You don't even know what it was like. And it almost makes me feel like that's what Mercedes is going through. Is like, well, we had all these other regulations and we had more dominant teammates, and just sounds a lot like I walked 40 blocks to school uphill both ways.
In the snow, barefoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that's normal. If you look at any sports team, when they kind of come off of a dynasty, I mean, you look at the Patriots, right? Right
Mm,
now. Yeah, I think that it's kind of a similar situation. Now, granted, you don't have the same cast
right.
there anymore, so that kind of helps explain it. But so I guess it's a little bit easier for them to explain it away.
Yeah.
You lost Brady, you lost Gronk, you lost Edelman, all that. Like you got a whole new crew in, but with Mercedes, you lost some of the people behind the scenes, but the main guys are there.
Right. Still got the Bill Belichick of Mercedes.
The faces of it are there.
Yeah.
But in terms of the teammates, I mean, Lewis's rookie year, he was up against Fernando.
Yeah.
And that was
contentious.
It was contentious, man. And it was, I think that was one of those years where there was a hard line divide between the garages and the pits. And, there was just, I think there was, the old McLaren was notorious for that, for the Ron Dennis way of kind of
Yeah.
having his boy and the other driver feeling slighted and always being a little bit of contention. And I think it was even that way with Mika and David until it got to a point, and I think David kind of understood and accepted it and just played his role.
Yeah.
But go further back before that, it was always like that.
And wasn't it like Senna and Prost? Were they on McLaren when that rivalry
Yeah.
was going on?
Yeah, Senna and Prost, and that was hugely contentious.
Yeah.
And you had
that'd be like Max and Lewis together, essentially.
It would. It really would. It's a thing that, essentially we got it with Nico and Lewis for a year.
Oh,
really, a couple years, but like we had that 1 year where it was where it came to a head,
Was that the year that Nico won, or was that the year before that?
Yeah, that was 16.
16
is when everything really kind of boiled over. I think 15, it kind of really started to go sideways.
Yeah.
There was a few things because in 14, that was when the new regs came in, the new engine regs.
Right.
And Mercedes was just light years ahead of everybody. And I think it was all fun and games because they were just crushing people, right?
Right.
And it was new to them. They had got a race win in maybe 2 in 13, a couple of them, and they were all on the up, you could tell. But then, the new regs hit and they are just crushing people. And, it's great that first year, you had a couple little brush ups, couple little dust ups here and there. And then 15, it's like, it got serious. And then 16, it was meltdown.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was going to be honest, man, I think Lewis is pretty lucky that Nico retired.
Yeah.
Because I think he'd have pulled the short straw, to be honest. Because Nico had that hardcore Mercedes backing and blood.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lewis would have probably been the one because they were gonna cut one of them. They were gonna have to, because going into 17, there's absolutely no way that could have continued.
Yeah, that would have been fun for us, though.
Oh, 100%. That'd have been awesome. But, I think Lewis is a little bit just kind of talking out the side of his mouth.
Right.
Kind of misremembering things. Valtteri was no different than Checo, in my opinion.
Perfect.
No different.
Because there's all those times when you're rewatching those races, and even in 2021, and you hear over the radio, "Where's Valtteri?" And he's back in 9th battling with Russell in a Williams, and you're like,
"Yeah, I know." I think that obviously the Nico was there, but when it comes to Max's teammates, like, I'd put any of the other ones outside of Nico up against Danny Rick. Danny Rick was no joke when he was with Red Bull, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Pierre and Albon, they were fresh, they
That's
weren't.
what I think too. Yeah,
It's like wasn't any wonderkins.
Worst place to go when you're fresh. You got to have some kind of experience to go to Red Bull. It feels like.
Well, and I feel like Max changed that. So that's another tip in his cap, because they were always notorious for bringing in these young guns. Hell, Max didn't even have a driver's license
I know.
when he started racing F1.
Yeah.
And I think that he changed the game for Red Bull because he set this bar that essentially was untouchable for new drivers.
Was it 2016 when he made the switch to Red Bull?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that all happened so fast with him being in that Toro Rosso and then Kvyat, like back-to-back races of wrecking Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah.
And then he was gone. It was just, and then here's Spain, and he wins the first race.
I know, man. And, you know, he was, a lot of people forget too, he was teammates with Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
When Carlos Sainz busts onto the scene, I mean, a lot of people were talking about him right up there with Max, talent-wise. You know, so I mean, look, I think Lewis had some really, really good teammates. Like he had Jenson Button, coming off of his title year.
Yep.
But you know, he got Fernando for a year, and then it was not. It was just, that was one of those situations where Fernando was going to be out, and then he got Jenson, and I know Jenson kept on driving, but I kind of think he was done.
Yeah.
And that was like Lewis's era of coming into the sport, that Vettel Lewis kind of time period is really when you saw the shift in drivers being able, the good drivers being able to take these really extended careers, because the testing restrictions were starting to come into play. You know, before that, like when Jenson started and when Fernando started and Kimi, and then you go further back with like, you know, Schumacher and Massa and you know, whoever else you want to name that was in that era, you know, Rubens Barrichello. Dude, there was no off time. Like, yeah, they didn't have as many races, but there was no downtime during the season or really outside the season. You had like a break around the holidays, and that was about it.
Yeah. And I've heard that from ex-employees. Once they leave, they don't miss the sport, because not only do they not get paid as much in F1, but they also, it's like you said, there's just zero break.
Oh, I mean, it's,
You're essentially deployed overseas.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be, you know, it's funny. I was actually in my head, I was thinking, I was like, what else could you compare it to that's a more grueling job in terms of like what it demands of you? And like the only thing I can come up with is like some kind of military career. You know, obviously, like I don't want to compare it to wartime,
right?
But when you're deployed or something like that, like for actual combat, but you know, there's a lot of deployments where you're just gone,
right?
And you know, see
that
you
training looks like
in 6 months, 9 months.
A little bit like boot camp, you know, with if you've ever seen how they like train the neck.
Oh yeah,
G-forces are like just excruciating pain is what they look like they're in.
Oh, it's insane. So man, are you sipping? You got anything you sipping on over there?
Yeah, so a little bit, you know, long story short, but a little Margarita Mike. That used to be my nickname back in the day for other reasons, but that's my favorite drink. I just love margaritas. So Margarita Mike it is. What are you drinking?
Man, I got going with High West tonight.
Ooh.
High West double rye, and this is actually a store pick single barrel.
Nice.
Where it is, I believe this is the one that was aged in the Midwinter Night Dram barrels.
Oof.
But it's fantastic. I got like a little bit left, and we're probably gonna kill that tonight. I've been holding on to this one for a long time.
Yeah, I got
tonight's the night it dies.
I had to fill up right before we started.
Yeah, I love some margaritas though, man. We've been it's been so hot over here. We've been killing them.
Yeah. It's just so smooth. Any day, all day, it just tastes good.
No doubt. Yeah,
You gotta
there's
get
no.
yourself your own barrel. Have you ever been to like a distillery or anything?
I
Like Jack
have.
Daniels?
I haven't gone and do the Kentucky Trail yet.
Yeah.
That's on. It's on the agenda, but we got some things that we're working on where come once we can build this thing up big enough
Yeah.
and get a large enough following, we're gonna do a barrel pick.
Nice. And it'll happen. I believe in you guys.
I hope, man. We just got to keep grinding it, keep going
Yeah.
at it. It'll take time.
You got the
We're not,
right energy. That's what I
we're
want.
not coming at it with any kind of corporate backing or anything.
Right.
So it takes a little more time.
Yeah.
But hey,
It's all
is what
about
it
the
is.
journey, right? All about the journey.
It is, man. It's all about like this, kind of just this right here. We met through doing this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what the whole game plan, man.
Yeah. You guys inspired me a lot. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy. So, all right, let's jump into this race. First off, how about
Monza.
qualifying?
Quality is crazy.
Dude, that was the most exciting. I mean, look, Monza might be my favorite race of the year just because of the stakes for Ferrari. Obviously, like, look, I got my old school Ferrari shirt on here, circa 1997.
I love it. I love it. It still fits.
Yeah, well, it was pretty large when I acquired it.
That freshman 15 just stayed on, right?
Yeah. I think I could, when I got it, I could probably wear it for a nightgown.
I love the Tommy. Is that Tommy Hilfiger?
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. That's so classic.
Tommy Hilfiger, Shell, back before they had 4,000 sponsors.
Right, no kidding.
But yeah, man, look, Monza is just it's a different animal.
It's fast.
It's so fast, but it's just everything else that goes with it for me. You got, I mean, first of all, the podium ceremony there is nothing comparable, in my opinion, in sports.
Yeah. Why can that not be everywhere?
I mean, it's just dude, like for the Italians, Ferrari is religion.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point where they ring the church bells in Maranello when Ferrari wins.
Well, I mean, you would think with that passion that like something could just trickle back through and get them back into that championship. It's just, I'm not even a Ferrari like homer, and it drives me nuts.
I feel like they're so close.
Yeah.
Last year, obviously they started out great. And then they just got in their way, man. It's like they just cannot. I mean, I don't know if you saw it last year or not, but me and David we opened up we each opened up a fresh bottle of some Pinhook whiskey that we had, and we would drink it every time that Ferrari blundered a strategy call.
So that didn't last long.
And I mean, we didn't kill it because we both went a high proof version, but we put a significant dent in there. And in fact, hang on, I'm gonna go grab it right now.
Yes, please do.
We're gonna see. We'll measure it up. All right. So, yeah, this was the Pinhook high proof rye, 122 proof. So, and I don't know if you can see, they got a lot of labels on it, but we're about, I don't know, I probably killed about 2/3 of it.
Woo.
And the only stuff that's been poured out of here is when Ferrari messed something up last year.
That's insane. Did you use it for this year at all?
No, I have not.
That's crazy.
I didn't even think it'd be fair to keep going with that.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to buy a couple more bottles for that.
Try and I don't know, man. But you know, they just couldn't get out of their own way. They couldn't. It seemed like the second that they felt like they didn't have the fastest car, or there was maybe they still did, or like the second the competition got really tight after
Mhm.
the first few races, they just overthought it.
Yeah.
You know, like they tried to like always play like these magical strategies or this or that, and it's just like, you know, just freaking, you know, like in Monaco last year, you got Carlos telling them what to do, and they still fuck it up,
Yep.
and it's like, God,
And
come
then
on.
didn't they double box there too with Leclerc? Like
Oh yeah, they wrecked
they told him
Leclerc's
to
race.
box, but then they told him to stay out after he was already in the pit lane, and then they botched it.
Yeah, I
Oh
mean,
man.
just you know,
And he was
just
on pole. Was
he
no
was on, yeah, he was on pole, and he was just
okay.
driving away into the distance.
Yeah.
You know, he had a comfortable lead, and they, like, in that situation, literally all you have to do is react.
Hmm.
You have a gap, you have a comfortable enough gap. The second one of them behind you pits, you react,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, and you had a buffer. Carlos was second. You didn't even have a Red Bull breathing down your neck. You know, it's like, Jesus, man.
Complete botch.
Um, I think that there needs to be, look, they hit the regs on the head from the jump. And I firmly believe, I don't think it's any coincidence that and like me and David have discussed it many times, when the technical directive came out regarding the porpoising, the way they had to change their floors and run the car, it
Yeah.
absolutely wrecked their whole concept.
Right.
Because I mean, just instantly, that's when the performance just dropped, and
Yeah.
it was drastic. And you know, it's a shame for them that that's what happened, because I am adamantly against um regulating problems out of F1 when other teams have proved that they can be engineered fixing.
And this is an engineering competition.
Exactly. So now look, off season, that's a different ball game. If they wanted to put something in off season going into this year,
Right.
that's fine. You know, announce it when they did, but say this is going to be implemented into 23,
Right.
because Red Bull and Ferrari both proved, Red Bull proved that you can make a really fast car with no porpoising. Ferrari proved you can make a very fast car with significant porpoising, but it was different than a lot of the cars. It was very small. So it wasn't, it was these little quick bounces,
Right.
opposed to like Mercedes, where you had like these giant
Right.
bounces.
They were in a bounce house.
So in my opinion, and look, both of the Ferrari drivers handled it fine. It wasn't an issue for them in terms of how fast they can go
Right.
and if they could do it safely or not. Um, I hate the fact that F1 got involved or the FIA got involved and changed that.
It seems to be their MO these days. It's like they just change rules
That's
mid-season or mid-race. I know, the big contentious 2021 Abu Dhabi, but it's like F1 is known for, we need to entertain them by changing something up.
right. And man, it would look like we were going to have one of the best constructors battles. Not only like Charles and Max going at it, but
Right?
constructors, man. Like 2022 was set to be an epic season,
Yeah.
and it just got wrecked. You
Hmm.
know, so it's, I'm curious how it would have played out. had that not happened. But I feel like in this cost cap era, you're seeing the progress. Like you saw the massive regression, which was essentially, it wasn't really with the true pace of their car, because when they lined up to qualify it, they were still probably the fastest car. But when it came down to race pace, the way they had to run their car just destroyed tires.
Yeah,
So it wasn't
they
sustainable.
always suffered from too much tire degradation.
But you know what's funny is, and a lot of people forget this, before they made that change last year, Ferrari was actually better on their tires than Red Bull.
Mm.
And right up into, if you remember Austria last year, where
Ugh.
Leclerc won,
Yeah.
dude, both of the Ferraris before Sainz blew up, but they were just driving past Max. They were doing whatever they
Mhm.
wanted. There was nothing that Red Bull could do. And it was because of the tires. They could run whatever strategy they wanted because their tires were lasting significantly longer than Red Bull's.
Yeah.
And then the second that technical directive hits, that is gone and they are shredding tires.
Yep.
And, you know, it seems like they're at least on a path of, I guess, somewhat of a right road right now. You know, you're starting to see the DAG not be as much of a problem. You're seeing them be able to hang out stints and really push the car and push the pace and pick it up some
Right.
compared to where they were at the beginning of the season.
Do you think that's track specific though? Because it seems like, we haven't really seen them consistently be up there, but it's nice to see them up there now, especially for Monza, their home race.
It is. It's definitely track specific. Obviously, there's some tracks that apply different pressure. You know, different tracks apply different pressures to tires, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I don't. It's hard to really say because of the fact. Well, I mean, no, it's not. It's definitely track specific, but it's a constantly changing situation because they keep bringing upgrades and upgrades and changing what their car does.
Right.
So when you get a track where you think it's going to be maybe a disaster for them, it winds up really not being. You know, Spa is notoriously hard on tires,
Mhm.
and they were by far the second fastest car at Spa. Um, so it's like
It's
clearly
interesting.
clearly they're getting it together. It's
Right.
just nowadays in the cost cap era, it's going to be a much slower progression.
I just wish they could figure out that tire degradation because they were actually faster in the straights in Monza because they came with that ultra downforce package for the rear wing, and that is weird to see Red Bull not be the fastest in the straights.
Dude, I mean, well, also Monza is a track where on the surface you think it would be Red Bull would just dominate down the straights, but their big advantage is the way their DRS works.
Yeah.
But Monza is the track where DRS means the least because you're already running such low downforce. There's
Right.
not this huge discrepancy of drag when you open that back wing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like Checo said it in the cool down room, I think, where he had to be, if he was 3/10 coming out of Parabolica, he didn't have a chance at passing him,
Mm-hmm.
which we've seen Red Bulls, maybe not on a Ferrari, but on other cars, we've seen them start down a straight, not even half as long as the one at Monza, and be 8, 9 tenths back and drive by them.
Exactly. Yeah. That's when they get called a rocket ship.
Yeah. So I mean, I think Ferrari has a lot of the pieces to the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what they do next year.
Right.
But, I know they're going to have a pretty significant redesign.
Okay.
We may not see much more in terms of upgrades this year. I think there's some plan for Singapore and Japan, and I think that's going to be it.
Okay.
Um, so let's see. Let's see. Hopefully they can do something, because I still feel like they're the closest threat to giving Red Bull some competition.
It definitely looks like that. Are you happy with the driver pairing of Leclerc and Sainz, or would you put Albon in there? Would you?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I think Leclerc and Sainz are probably the strongest on the grid.
Mm-hmm.
If you just look at a couple things, you got Sainz, who is very, very quick, but uber consistent. And, on his day can hang with anybody on the grid. Then you got Leclerc, who I believe is, a rare talent
Mm-hmm.
in terms of his ceiling.
He's got
And
that it factor.
he does, man. I think,
He's special.
I want to take Lewis out of the equation because I don't know how much longer he's going to be in the sport. I know he just re-signed a contract. But if you just look at, the drivers of his generation, of Max and Charles and Lando and all, I think Charles has every bit the potential to be right there, up there with Max.
And he's already showed it last
Exactly.
year at the beginning.
Exactly. He doesn't have the stability and the structure of the team that Max does.
Yeah.
Yet. Now, let's see if Charles has that last part of the it factor that Max does, where he's able to really build that team through him. To where his side of the garage, everybody's thinking the same thing at the same time. And if there's a discrepancy, it may sound, like a lot of times with Max, it sounds like they're arguing and they're fighting, and they are, but they're going to solve the problem.
And it sounds like the team principal was sure. I'm not sure who he favors. Have you kind of caught on to that, or seems more equal than it used to, at least?
Man, I think right now, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. And I think that's a good thing for where Ferrari is right now, because they're not in a championship fight.
Right.
So there's no reason to show favoritism, in my opinion. Now, last year, had that fight continued, like, clearly you need to do what you got to do to back your guy who's in the hunt, which is, part of the reason why I think maybe Mattia doesn't have a job anymore. Like, look at Silverstone last year. Carlos's first win. Carlos should not have won that race. I don't want to say, look, that's his only win. He drove a fantastic race, and he did everything in his power to win that race, right?
Yeah, he definitely ignored team orders there.
But that was stupid. Like, I don't blame him for that. That was a stupid team order. Like, the team order should have been Leclerc pits first.
Yeah.
And if the second car, first of all, Leclerc was leading the race at the time, so he gets priority. Second of all, I don't remember where he was at that moment in the championship, but if he wasn't leading it, he was right there, and he would have desperately needed those points. Like, he was 100% in the game, and Max was struggling in that race. So Ferrari, like, it's not politics. It's smart racing. You do everything in your power to make sure Leclerc wins that race.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And look, that's coming from somebody who, growing up, my favorite driver was Rubens Barrichello.
Wow.
All right. So you can imagine my frustration when it came to team orders.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I understand why. You know, Formula One, it's an individual game, but more than anything, it's a team thing. You have that guy that's there to make the hard decisions, that he's looking at the big picture all the time, the best interest for not only the team, but for the driver that is in the best position to win a championship. And it needs to be done. And I think that was one of Mattia's biggest weaknesses, is he couldn't make the big decision. You know, I think he was too nice. I think he did a great job in kind of reversing the toxicity of what had become Ferrari. But I feel like he kind of went too much on the opposite end and just couldn't make those tough decisions. You know, I think Fred coming in has had to essentially come in and be the bad guy because of that, and make a lot of tough decisions and make some personnel changes. And I think there's a significant amount more that need to be made this offseason when it comes to the strategy department.
Oh,
And you know, maybe, you know what? Maybe it's not even the strategy department. Maybe it's the race engineer. I'm
that's what I
adamant
was
about
thinking.
this. Like, there is bad communication from I'll look up his name all the time. I can't remember it.
Zavi and
Yeah, from Charles Race Engineer to him.
Zavi, yeah.
Um, it's just terrible, man. It's always late.
Yeah.
It's not decisive. It's always kind of open-ended. You can't have that. I don't care if Ferrari is the slowest car on the grid. Ferrari itself should not have that.
Yeah, you would never see that at Red Bull.
No. I mean, you know, like, you listen to, if you go back and listen to Haas when Mick was there.
Yeah.
Dude,
No
like,
way.
as bad as that whole situation was, they had great communication back and forth. And it's like, bro, it's not that hard. That's not that hard of a thing to get right.
Right. And
Like,
that's the secret to life.
there has to be somebody in that team that Charles just, you know, some engineer that Charles just gets on with perfectly, and can communicate clearly with, because there's a huge disconnect there.
And you can see it with Max and GP, like the way that they connect. It's, they get each other. They know, even when one or the other is being contentious, they know what the other means by it,
Mm-hmm.
and they know how to handle it. GP knows how to handle Max, and that's what he needs.
100%.
But they were closer, so it was nice to see Ferrari closer and put up a fight. Sainz, 15 laps. Could you believe how long it took Max to pass him?
I was pretty shocked.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, man. I think had Max got past them on lap 5, 6, 7, 8, I don't think Checo makes the podium.
Yeah, I've seen some other analysis supporting that as well.
Because I was sitting there thinking about it while I'm watching the race, and I'm like, there came a point where it was like, okay, like, they might have the pace to take this race, really deep.
Mm-hmm.
And, Max keeping that pressure on Carlos for as long as he did and not getting by him when Carlos's tires went off, which, I mean, they lasted a decent amount, 15 laps, and pushing it, and they were going at it.
Right.
I mean, all three of them were on it for those 15 laps. And when they hit a wall, they hit a wall.
Yeah, he dropped down to Bottas's pace right after he got past.
And you know, they almost got to that first pit stop window. They were about four laps from that. I want to say he passed them on 20. I mean, on 15. So let's see. Pit stops. When was the first one? Let's see who went first out of them. Okay, Sainz went first on lap 19. I think any earlier than that, you'd have struggled getting to the end.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, had he got by and they were able to just run their race, because keep in mind too, Leclerc was tucked up in DRS behind Max for all of those laps as well.
Yeah.
So that was eating up his tires.
Yeah, he kind of fell off just to do some tire management.
Yeah. Had that not happened, I think that's where Checo made his race.
Mm-hmm.
He was fine. He was finally able to work through some of that traffic, Russell and all, and which took him a surprising amount of time to get by him.
Yeah, he actually passed him on lap 16. So
yeah,
it was geesh.
And in those 3 laps, I mean, he just chunked time out of the Ferraris.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
had Max gotten by on lap 8, and Ferrari could have just slotted into their own little comfortable pace, and probably pushed their tire window a little further to where, you know, they got even less laps to do on the hards. And I don't think Checo gets him. And even if he catches him, he's not passing him before the checker flag.
Right.
Because it took him 7 laps
to
pass Charles.
He was 6/10 back. He still couldn't get him until lap 46.
Yeah. It took him 5 or 6 laps to pass Charles, then another 5 or 6 to pass Carlos.
Yeah. Yeah. 32 was Leclerc. That was lap 32. Yeah. And then 46 was Sainz.
So shit, it took him 16?
Yeah.
No.
14.
14 to pass Sainz. I mean, there's no way. There's no way he gets P2. Maybe he gets Charles, but I don't know, because I think the amount of time that they lost in those 4 or 5 laps from in between Max getting past Carlos and that pit stop was just crippling to him.
Yeah.
But I think they got to a point where it seemed like they had to go for it, right? Like, your pace was so good and Max legit could not pass you.
Yeah.
So you're like, we got to go for it. Like, we're not just going to concede this to him.
I thought it was interesting that Sainz was one of the only ones defending on the inside going into turn 1. He was kind of on the inside of the track, so he would have been on the inside of turn 1 and then the outside of turn 2 going into Curva Grande.
Yeah, so, it would have been...
No one could get through there without getting onto the inside of turn 1.
No, you can't, because on that first chicane, that turn 2 comes back at you. It's not like a, you know, you draw like a little squiggly line through it chicane. It's essentially like a decreasing radius chicane.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's an aggressive turn 2, to where if you go try and stick it around the outside, if you don't get 3/4 of your car past the inside guy at apex
with momentum,
you're getting run out of road.
Because Leclerc got Sainz with the apex, and then it's like he locked up or something, and then signs just went right on by in Curva Grande.
Yeah, yeah. But that was an awesome battle too.
Oh, were you nervous? Did you see how close the tires were when they?
Oh, it was crazy. It was
Curva
crazy.
Grande, jeez, it was like a ghost car. Just how
Man,
close they were.
I was having flashbacks of Leclerc and Vettel in Brazil,
Ah, jeez.
which that was 100% Vettel's fault. But no, I mean, look, I'm glad they let him race, man, because
Yeah.
had it been anywhere else, I don't think they allow it. But it was for that third step of the podium at Monza in a
Yeah.
Ferrari. You know, go and get it.
It was cool to hear Leclerc. Like, I'm so used to Leclerc losing and being upset after races, but actually hearing him be excited after losing that battle and getting P4 and actually having fun, that was cool to hear from him. It's like he's got a new mindset all of a sudden.
Man, I think that, to me, I agree with you. I try and like kind of keep it in perspective of the roller coaster ride that he's been on in Ferrari.
Yeah.
You know, like he comes in 19 and you're just like, holy shit, look at this young kid, like lighting the world on fire, smashing Seb Vettel.
Wow, no kidding.
And, you know, like Seb pulled some old wise guy tricks on him a time or two, but it happened once. You know, once he used that trick, that thing was burned. It wasn't going to happen again.
Yeah.
And Leclerc kind of got hard that season, right? You know, like you saw him like at Austria, Max kind of escorted him off of the track. And Charles didn't really, it's like it was kind of shocking to him. And then from that point forward, it was like, okay, no, this is my spot.
Yeah.
Like, you're not pushing me off the track. You know, just a lot of those steps. And, you know, one Spa, one Monza, should have won Singapore. Should have won. That was the one that Seb stole from him.
Yeah.
But what was the other? There was one early in the season. Was it Baku? I think it was Baku, where he should have won. He had it in the bag, and he wound up having engine trouble on the last lap or two, or at the very tail end of the race.
Yeah.
And both the Mercedes got him. He still finished on the podium, but you know, to the shit show that was 20 for Ferrari, to then, you know, kind of rebuilding a little bit in 21 and being a little more competitive and, you know, having some good highs, getting pole at Monaco and,
yeah,
you know, then you know, going into 22, you come out of the gate or even in testing and you're like, all right, we're quick.
Yeah.
We got a shot here. And then, you know, the highs that was the beginning of that season with then the engine problems dragging it down, the strategy dragging it down. Then it looks like they're getting it together. Then the technical directive comes in and screws them up. You know, like, so I try and keep all that. It's a long answer on what kind of perspective I try and keep when I hear Charles interviews, because like, I think it matters.
Right.
When you're talking about that level and being so close and being able to sniff that championship fight, to having it just yanked away, and then all of a sudden you're back fighting with people you were light years ahead of the year before. You know, hearing his demeanor these last couple of races, kind of, in my opinion, makes me think they're liking what's going on. They're liking what they're seeing. They're starting to see that light at the end of the tunnel again. And, you know, we don't know how bright it's going to get, if they're going to be able to catch Red Bull. But seems like it's there.
Yeah, and as long as I can figure out it seems like sometimes there's too much understeer, then all of a sudden there's oversteer, and then they got reliability issues, they got handling issues. It's like they could just get some consistency in all areas, just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see a much better Ferrari. I think next year's shaping up to be real nice.
I agree, man. If they, like I said, I think they're on the right track. I think that I think they're close enough now to where you iron out. Essentially, they have to iron out the floor.
Yeah.
That's their. I think that's the end all be all for them. I would be willing to bet an uncomfortable amount that when they show up at testing in 24, their side pod's looking an awful lot like Red Bull,
Right.
along with every other team.
I was going to say Haas is coming into our next Singapore with Red Bull side pods.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of upgrades come this week at Singapore.
That should be interesting. We can get. Can't wait to see how when they added that new straight, they took out turns 16 through 19, I think it was. It's just a big long straight.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, look, all in all, at the front, I think it was the best race we've had in a while.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was. I think it was great to see somebody challenge the Red Bulls, essentially Max.
Right.
Which, look, I mean, they worked for it. They made him work for it, but as usual, handled it flawlessly.
Mm-hmm.
They had a little issue at the end that you didn't really even find out about until after.
Yeah, so I was pretty intrigued about that Monza curse and how, what was it, the last 4 winners, the next year they DNF'd, and then you hear that radio contact at the end with GP, and it sounded like they might not have gotten one more lap.
Yeah.
Those brakes were cindering.
Yeah. But, they look, it was an exciting weekend, man. It all in all, qualifying was freaking awesome. Qualifying was so damn exciting. And then just to see a legit battle at the front for all 3 of the podium places. I mean, every one of the podium places was highly contested.
Yeah.
For extended amounts of time. So just a great race, a great weekend in general. A lot of dry running, a whole dry race. That was wonderful to see.
Yeah, no kidding. We needed that.
And then you had behind all that, you had George Russell coming in behind the Ferraris and the Red Bulls, who was essentially just on his own.
Right. And that's wild. That's wild that, those cars are so comparable. And you see Hamilton constantly beat Russell, but then out of nowhere, Russell will just pull out one of these banger of laps and take 4th there. He almost had it up there too. It's like they were all gritty that day.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, let's see where I got Quali pulled up here. I mean, George stuck it up there ahead of Checo.
Yeah, I was not happy about that.
I mean, I don't know what. I don't know if it's a car thing, but I feel like the Mercedes are very very touchy in qualifying.
Yeah.
and it never seems like, I might be wrong, but it just seems like you never have both of them performing at their highest level at the same time in quali.
I've been kind of feeling like they've been suffering some strategy issues too.
They definitely have. Me and David talked about that last time, where you're starting to see some very what we used to call uncharacteristic strategy issues with Mercedes, but I feel like we've talked about it 3-4 times this year. Maybe it's not so uncharacteristic anymore. And it could be, you could chalk it up to a few things. Like, you've had a shit ton of people leave over the last few years, getting poached, going to other teams, getting better opportunities, more money, whatever it may be. And they're in a position now that they haven't had to contend with in a very long time. It's easy to lead from the front.
Yeah.
Like the old saying, right? Like, when you're that much faster than everybody, like Mercedes was for so long, you just had to react or just not screw it up.
Yeah, what they have 8 in a row, 8 constructor titles
8 constructors in a row.
Jeez.
So I mean, like, there was just so much dominance that they didn't face up until 21. They didn't face a ton of adversity. I mean, there was years where, Seb in a Ferrari gave him a run, but it always fizzled out. You always kind of felt like Mercedes still had a firm grasp on it, and Ferrari was the one that had to take the shot in the dark to really, make it work or stick it to them or whatever. Even what year was it? I think it was 18. Let me see. Let me pull this up real quick. It was 18 when, I mean, Ferrari won the first 2 races. Seb won the first 2 races. Then Danny Rick won the third one. There was no panic. Lewis came out and won the next 2. And, then it's just like littered with Lewis Hamilton after that. Like, Seb won a few more, but it never really, they never seemed like they got shook. I'm sure they were concerned, but they just did their thing and handled it. And at the end of the season, they're crushing it,
Yeah, even 2021, they were, even though Lewis didn't win, they're still always there. They're always in that contention. Now we're not seeing it, and they don't know how to handle it.
Right.
Yeah, and with that communication, like Hamilton didn't even get out of Q2, was it? Or Q1?
Yeah, I think it was. Shit, what was it? There's been a couple times this year, man, where like we're losing Mercedes in Q1, Q2. Let's see here. All right, quality. Lewis was. All right, Lewis was P8. That's what it was, though. He barely got in. I think.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, P8.
Barely got in there. But yeah, it was just. It was just off, They sent him out early. I think they did that at Zandvoort.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what it was.
They sent him out way too early.
Mm-hmm.
Way too early. And he wound up getting knocked out.
Yep.
But yeah, just not like them. They definitely need to get that ship righted, because the last thing you want to happen is to just ignore it and think it's not a problem, because you're still finishing as good as you can. They finished back to back with each other in 5 and 6.
Yeah.
So if they feel like that's the best that they could have gotten, which it is, clearly it is, then maybe you're just looking at like these technical things. How can we make our car better? How can we make our car better? Then you finally get it to that point and you do what Ferrari did at the beginning of last season.
Yeah. And I think they had an ego problem. They were married to those zero side pods for way too long, thinking that they were going to figure that out.
100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think like that was a perfect way to sum it up, was an ego problem, because I feel like the worst thing that could have happened to them was Russell winning in Brazil last year and them having a 1-2.
Yeah.
Because I think it gave them a false sense of pace and hope that really didn't exist. Like, it looked great. I'm sure it felt phenomenal to have a season like they did and to still be able to get a 1-2. But I think, maybe it really gave them this false sense of hope and potential on this design. Because, like, if you look at that race, you had a stretch of my memory here, but you had Lando, I think it was Lando that took Charles out on the first lap, spun him around, knocked him all the way down. Then you had something happen with both Max and Checo. And then you had Carlos that was absolutely on a tear, running them down after all that melee. And he winds up getting a visor stuck in his brake and has to pit. And takes him out, which he was absolutely going to drive by him.
Yep.
And then they wind up just kind of running away with the race. And it was like, bro, like that's a phenomenal result. But it wasn't 100% on merit.
Yeah.
There was all these things that happened and allowed this to happen. Don't lose sight. And I feel like they lost sight of it. And you're right, man. Like, they stuck with that design for entirely too long, which blew my mind, because we saw they had the other one already made because they showed up to first testing with it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't understand why there wasn't a point where they keep showing all these phenomenal points in the wind tunnel and on the sim with the zero side pods, but they can never, ever correlate it on the track in reality.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
At a certain point, why do you keep believing it?
Right.
Like, even to the point of like, okay, you want to see out the season with it. Why in the hell do you turn up this year with that freaking car?
No kidding. And then to go almost halfway with those zero side pods, now you have no time to develop your actual good car.
And you've wasted probably half of your budget cap for the year on a car that you're no longer running.
Exactly. They literally started from scratch after wasting all their money.
I'm sure they were somewhat developing in the background, but it's not what it could have been. They're not where they could have been or should have been, probably.
They probably would have been up there with Ferrari this last weekend if that would have happened.
Yeah, there's no talent, like it's just mind-blowing to me that a team like Mercedes kind of just got stuck in the quicksand.
Yeah, and they're sometimes getting outperformed by customer teams, like Williams, Albon in that Williams. Like,
McLaren is going to be a problem for them. coming up.
Yeah.
Like they are coming on strong. We knew they were going to struggle at Monza.
Right.
But man, like let's not get ahead of ourselves a little bit because I could go on a rant on that. Let's get back into Mercedes here
Yeah.
into the race. They finish in their slot etched in stone, third fastest car. If there's no attrition in front of them, they're kind of fifth and sixth.
Right.
If others in front have problems, they'll slide in just like last year and take those positions as they come.
Yep.
But they didn't really, which I don't think anybody expected them to pose a threat in any way this weekend in Monza, but George was comfortably ahead. Lewis just had kind of a tough weekend. Didn't qualify well. And I mean, we've seen it, man. Like this car, when you don't qualify it well, you don't just, even though you're significantly faster, you don't just drive by these other cars like you used to.
Yeah.
You get pinned behind and stuck and you hemorrhage lap time. So it really just sets your race off.
Yeah, those DRS changes. It feels like every race that Hamilton doesn't qualify well, we see him in the back of a DRS train.
Yeah. And a thing that goes the same for George, and they typically wind up finding themselves next to each other in the race, not necessarily on track, but just in terms of position.
And didn't they screwed up the pit strategy, didn't they? Because I remember Russell saying I was supposed to be slotted for a podium or something today,
or no, that was Zandvoort. I know what you're talking about. That was Zandvoort.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, bro, did you not see the melee that just happened on the first lap?
Right.
Like all that shit is out the window.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that Lewis, and this is something that you're kind of seeing as well, that I'm taking some shit for this take, but
hot take coming in.
I feel like Lewis has lost and is relearning a lot of his racecraft.
You think it's because he's so used to being in the lead?
I think he went so long, and this isn't his fault.
Right.
Like I'm not taking a shot at Lewis by
Right.
saying that. It's a product of him being so good for so long. But there was, up until 21, there wasn't a ton of times where he had to like legit battle it out with people and get wheel to wheel, week in and week out. And, when he did before, it was kind of few and far between. And the car was so good, he usually won. He usually won that battle, whatever it was. But, like this year and last year, man, I feel like so many times you're seeing him just tangle up with people. And even in 21, when it came, look, Max is an aggressive driver. And there was plenty of things that he brought it right up to the line.
Mm-hmm.
But there was equally things on Lewis's side that I just thought were poorly executed. And it was kind of something that you don't, until you really take a step back and kind of have this conversation,
right?
You don't expect it from him. Like just different things, like I feel like the racecraft just wasn't there in the wheel-to-wheel racing. and you look at this move that he pulled on Piastri this weekend, and it's like, I mean, he just literally drove into the side of him, pulled up alongside him, and just drove straight into the side of him. There's no other way to put it. But I'll tell you this. Here's another hot take. I think Mercedes has some kind of proprietary carbon fiber that is indestructible in every freaking direction.
Thank you.
Because it is not the same carbon fiber that every other team builds their car out of.
Right? No kidding. Yeah, 100%. You can go back to last year for that. You know, all the Russell crashes that he was causing, but he was fine afterwards.
Shit, even in 21. Look at all the times him and Max, he rammed the back of Max, and like he's got like a little crinkle in the side of his wing, and it doesn't affect performance at all.
How's that possible? That is crazy.
You know, meanwhile, you look at like other people, they bump something, and it's like the wing's mangled, stuck in the floor, suspension's broke,
right?
Like, you know, the wheels facing in. It's like, Jesus, man.
That's a great hot take. We should.
These Mercedes are tanks.
Yeah, they are tanks for sure. Yeah, but Alonso even put it, you know, and I can't remember if it was this year or last year, but he said at mid-race when he was battling with Hamilton, this guy only knows how to race from the front.
I think that was last year.
Last year, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was when he was in his salty Alpine I guess exit tour.
The many sides of Fernando Alonso, as we've seen.
Right. But
yeah, look, man, he took Piastri out of that race. He was going to get a top 10 and ended up 13th.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was, you know, me and David were talking about this the other day where, you know, we harp on consistency from the stewards, right? Mm-hmm. We want to see consistency, but I think there's also context that needs to be applied. And I 100% think the outcome, you know, because their whole thing is like the effect of the mistake that gets penalized has no effect on the penalty. I think that's ridiculous. I think that's completely stupid because you could have a little penalty and take them out the race and you continue. How's a 5-second penalty justifiable for that? For what happened?
Right.
You know, so like in this situation, yeah, it was a small bonehead, but small mistake that Lewis made where he just lost sight of where Piastri was alongside him. Maybe he thought he cleared him a little more than he did. I don't know. But you drive straight into the side of a guy, destroy his race, and it affects you none.
You know, he was aware of it, it seemed like, because he did go up to Piastri after the race and apologize. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he handled it well and, like, owned it. He owned it.
He's got to figure it out.
In the moment, I mean, at that point, it's too late. Like, if I'm Piastri, sorry, I don't give a fuck about sorry. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, like, okay, you're sorry. Like, you ran me out, you drove in the side of me, busted my car up, and ran me off the road.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't think that. I think you can be consistent in what constitutes a penalty from the stewards, but I think you can look at each individual situation and apply an appropriate penalty.
I agree.
Because you were struggling to get past him. When you finally look like you're going to make the move stick, you do a bonehead thing and take him out. So now, like, not only does he lose that position with no chance of fighting it back, he loses all points.
Yep.
So I think there needs to be that needs to be taken into account.
Think they should get like a grid penalty instead of a time penalty?
No, because I don't think anything that happens in this race should carry over to the next race.
Okay.
I don't particularly like the time penalties in general.
Right.
I think they should do away with the stupid time penalties, to be honest. And you either do something that's egregious enough to get one of the following penalties: a drive-through penalty,
Mm-hmm.
a stop-go penalty of varying amounts of time depending on what it is, or a black flag. Like, that's it. I think these time penalties are dumb because it's a minor penalty, but it makes them way more willing to give out penalties, which I hate. Like growing up watching F1, we would go weeks without seeing a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it should be. You want these guys to race. You want these guys to go hard. They think this is kind of like another thing of a similar conversation. Like they're trying to fix the competition problem and the crashing problem and the guys, getting into one another through mediation and all, like outside factors getting involved, outside people getting involved. If you want to make it better, to race on the track and these guys not, I guess, be hitting each other so much, make the goddamn cars smaller.
Well, it sounds like they're going to for the 2026 regulations.
They have to, man.
There's
They
something
have
about
to.
50 kilograms lighter, and then it's going to be narrower. It could be narrower tires.
They've got to do it.
Yeah.
I haven't gone in depth into 26 yet. I still think it's too far away. So I think it'll probably change 100 more times.
Good point. It is F1.
But it has to change, man. They're way too big. And then you get all these drivers that go drive these older heritage cars for their teams, and every time one of them gets out, like they're grinning ear to ear. They're talking about like how awesome these cars are to drive. Like I wish they would go back to naturally aspirated engines. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but they should go and be, we already have a Formula E. I don't want to see a freaking Formula One with 60% of the power being electric. I think that's dumb. Right. I hate that idea. I hate that concept. But go get on the forefront of sustainable fuels and naturally aspirated engines.
That's what Vettel just ran at. Was it Germany?
Yeah. In his RB9.
Yeah, or I think it's RB7.
RB7.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been like a big advocate for that sustainable fuel and trying to show F1 that you can do that.
Do it, man. Like that's where they need to be. Like I said, we have a Formula E. Don't compete with that. Like they've made a great technology in this hybrid system that's now, 10 years ago when it came out was cutting edge. Mm-hmm. Now you're starting to see a lot of those style engines in, big trucks and trucks in general.
Right.
And it's awesome. It's great. That's a great thing. That's what F1's always been about.
Yeah.
And any innovation you see in motor cars, go look at 10, 12 years before that in F1 and you'll probably find it.
Mm-hmm.
But sustainable fuels, man, like electric cars in the future. It's not as much as everybody wants it to be. It's not the future. Like we're already got, if you go look in California where there's a big concentration of electric cars, you get in these, like the grid can't handle it now for what people have right now. Grid can't handle it. You're getting these times when they're like, hey, don't plug in your cars tonight. Okay, I guess I'm working from home.
Yep.
What's that? We don't have the infrastructure for that. The world doesn't have the infrastructure for that.
Yeah, definitely not.
So it's like, F1 needs to find something and develop the shit out of it that's going to bridge that gap. Because, this whole whatever, I don't know, whatever it is, 2035 or whatever, when they want to
2030.
be no, not F1. I just mean like the US wants to, all
Right.
this nonsense, electric, whatever. Bro, that's a farcical pipe dream. That's never going to freaking happen. If
I
you
hope
start
it doesn't.
I don't either. I'm the same way, but just like if I'm impartial as to my feelings on what I want to happen or not,
Right.
realistically, if you started all the infrastructure projects today, it's still not going to happen.
Not in America.
No. I mean, it's the size of these projects that need to take place to create what's needed to support that is another industrial revolution.
Yeah.
So like I wish F1 would just grab that, and that's worldwide. That's not just in America. I wish F1 would just grab that bull by the horns and be like, sustainable fuels is the bridge. That's what we're going to do. Because combustion engines aren't going anywhere.
Right.
Probably not in our lifetime. They'll be around.
Yeah, I just can't imagine. Can't even picture. I hope it's not one of those things,
No, I sure hope not. But for nothing else, for motor racing. Like, I mean, there is absolutely nothing better than the
roar
V10 era of Formula One.
Yeah, everybody says it too. That's like 100% agreement.
It is. I mean, look, I was lucky enough to go to 2 of those races in 03 and 04. And I watched every race of that era. And it was the best. Like the car performance, the size of the cars, the engines, the sounds, like everything, man. It was just perfect. Obviously you have to keep progressing, and we can't keep that forever, like, unfortunately, but I feel like they're at a point where they could go back down that road and advance that technology to another level that was previously unthinkable.
I agree.
So, man, come on. But anyway,
speaking of innovation, it's been nice to see James Vowles over at Williams coming from Mercedes. And just, have you listened to any of like his technical analysis after the race? And he'll just kind of just.
I've heard some of his, like, interviews and stuff like that. With, I think, F1 Nation, like Natalie Pinkham and all get up after the race. But I haven't chased down like anything more than that.
It's fun to listen to him. It's like, and it's nice to see someone finally take Williams seriously. Someone, him trying to get proposed to update the the wind tunnel and facilities that are stuck literally in the 1990s right now.
Oh yeah, they got a massive project on their hands if they're going to get caught up and they're going to be feasible. But like you said, man, I think James Vowles is 100% a dude in Formula One.
Yeah.
I think he's doing a phenomenal job. If he had a solid driver lineup, I think Williams would be a problem for the midfield. But I mean, just look at the look at the strides they've taken throughout this season, and it kind of goes unnoticed because they still have those pretty bad valleys.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I feel like that ceiling is getting higher and higher.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for once,
Um,
they're not last.
no,
You
God,
know.
Haas looks terrible. Jesus,
Oh my gosh.
but we're getting
Why
ahead
are
of
they
ourselves
even?
there. As soon
Yeah,
as you said,
yeah.
dude, when you said last, like the Haas
Right.
logo just popped in my brain.
No, I'm chomping at the bit to just destroy Haas on here. I'm sorry. To any Haas fans.
Hey, that's perfect. That'll be a perfect segue because whenever we get to it, go to town because I got something I want to tie right off of the back of that.
All right.
So look, man, I think me and David talked about this last week, being that Logan Sargent had to stamp his seat for next year at this track because we knew that car was going to be good at Monza. And it was. And he had
The steering went out, I guess.
in the race.
Yeah, in the race.
Yeah, but he botched it in quali.
Yeah.
He had a chance. He was looking good
Mm-hmm.
in Q1, and then he botched it in Q2, I think, right?
I think so.
I think he started 15. He was last in Q2.
Yeah, he red flagged that because I remember there was a ton of red flags.
Yeah.
That was one of them.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know. Do they give him another shot next year or?
I do not think so.
Yeah.
So
there goes our American.
Man, like,
all
right, look, I got a silly season spiral for you. I think we're gonna have a late silly season this year.
Okay.
So essentially Red Bull controls the board for the silly season, right? Because we got Yuki, Daniel Ricciardo, and now Liam Lawson in the picture, who is looking good.
So good. Out of nowhere.
So you got 3 guys right there that all deserve a place on the grid. We don't know what what Red Bull's plans are for Danny Rick. Personally, I think they would love to get him back into Red Bull as the bridge guy between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. Because I don't think they want, if they don't have to, I don't think they want to pit Max and Lando against each other earlier than necessary. But I 100% think Lando is going to be Max's successor. But anyway, that's way down the line. So that being said, I think that's why they want Danny Rick in that AlphaTauri for next year.
I agree with that.
But I think that they had probably made up their mind on Yuki. I don't ever see Yuki getting into Red Bull. He's not getting to the big team. I don't see it. I think they've given him ample opportunity. I think he's flashed some great signs of potential, but he's at the end of the leash now when it comes to time, and it's just not going to happen. There's too much other talent out there that they could go and sign to put him in there. Like Yuki is a plenty capable midfield driver, and that's all he's going to be, in my opinion.
He's not coachable. You know, you're a coach. You understand, like when someone, you know what they need to do, and you communicate that to them. When they're just so resistant to any kind of help, it's like, what do? You know, and that's what he's shown is every time they've tried to help him out with, engine settings or braking a little bit earlier or later, he is always, screaming back at him, telling him, let me drive. And he's no Kimi Räikkönen to be able to do that.
Right, I know. But, I think if you look at where he is now versus where he started, I think he's made an astronomical amount of progress.
I agree.
I just think he's getting close to that ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what else there is in the tank. And even if there is a fair amount more, I still don't think it's Red Bull level.
And
It's
I think
not
that
big
was
team
part of
Red
the
Bull level.
plan for Ricardo this year, for Ricardo to set that bar high enough to where they know that there is no more ceiling for Yuki.
Right.
So now we got that screwed
and
up.
I think Ricardo was well on his way to doing that.
Right.
But now, honestly, I think it looks even worse for Yuki because Liam Lawson comes in and he's right there with him.
Yeah.
I mean, there hasn't been that big of a disparity between them two for Liam Lawson coming in the way he did.
Right.
So like, boy, does this make De Vries look terrible.
Yeah. Geez.
But so with that being said, I think that I feel like if I'm Red Bull, I'm keeping Ricardo and Lawson and AlphaTauri next year. And if I'm Williams, I'm snatching up Yuki. Because I think he is the kind of driver that could benefit them greatly. He's got that flash of raw speed and talent and potential. And I think given a change of scenery, I think he could benefit greatly from just taking it off the limit a little bit, trying to impress Red Bull and iron out a ton of consistency.
That's true.
And I think putting him next to Albon would be a great pairing for that team to build going forward in their climb up the ladder in the constructors. But Red Bull holds the keys to that.
That's true. But they also have AlphaTauri switching over to probably Hugo Boss, Bulls Racing. And they were talking about using a lot of the parts from this year's Red Bull. It makes me wonder, can they be more competitive next year? And will they flirt with, can we see another level to Yuki and this improved AlphaTauri?
Man, I just don't. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I think had Danny Rick not got hurt, I think Yuki absolutely gets another year. I think you see Yuki and Danny Rick all next season.
Right.
But with Danny Rick getting hurt and seeing their young talent that they plug in there.
And we broke the veil.
Like it's too late. Like we know, okay, like now we know we got a guy here whose baseline is where you're at now.
Yeah.
He's got no time in the car at all, and he's where you are. So, I mean, that's what Red Bull looks to develop. So I can't see a world where they continue trying to force development out of Yuki.
It's just next year's just such a weird year. It's just such a bridge year for all the teams. It's almost like everybody just wants to skip to 2025 and get going with where everybody's going to actually end up.
I, for one, don't, because I think if nothing else, 25 is going to be the year where somebody for sure catches Red Bull, maybe multiple teams.
Right.
I think you'll see Mercedes back up fighting. I think you'll see Ferrari back there, and it looks like McLaren's making good strides. I'm curious as to like where's the ceiling for these cars? So
as far as the regulations?
Yeah, like what's the ceiling for these regulations in terms of
Right.
like the pace of the car? Because like we found out last time in the last regs, Mercedes found that ceiling before everybody. Well, now all of a sudden, year over year, Mercedes is making their car 0.2 better, where Red Bull's making their car 0.8 better. Because like you're just at sooner or later, the end of regs, sooner or later, the good teams get their car to a point, all to the same point. It's just some of them get there faster than others, where you're getting everything out of it.
Right.
And I feel like 25 is going to be that year. But I think 24, I think next year is going to be, I think you're going to see a lot of, I don't think it's going to look anything like this year.
Let's kind of hope not, because I mean, history's fun to watch, but it's just, I think we all watch sports to see some competition, and you're just not getting that this year.
Mm-hmm. And Red Bull, if you're listening, if y'all are gonna smash everybody next year, I know this is gonna upset you, but just go ahead and sign Lando right now, so we can have like just some awesome. Even if it's Red Bull winning every race, we can just have fireworks at the front. Or put in a call to your boy, tell him to get his shit together, man, and bring it. Personally, I don't care who it is. I just want to see it.
I know, I agree, and I thought we were gonna have it. I mean, it's weird to sit here, 12 races through the season. Your favorite driver is 40 plus points ahead of third place. You're firmly in second place. No, I mean, last year, Checo was competing with Leclerc for second, all the way up until the end. And now he's firmly ahead of everybody. And it is the worst season for me. And it's because of that expectation. It's because he cannot match Max's skill in this car development. Right. And it's hard to find a weakness in Max's game at all. I mean, even in the wet, I went back and watched 2016. What was that rain race that he just flew by Nico on that outside line?
Oh, I know I don't remember exactly which one, but I remember what you're talking about.
And it's like you just realize Max doesn't, you hope it rains to get a little bit more competition. It just doesn't matter. You have to get, a piece of a part stuck into his brake duct just to have a chance.
I mean, he's on another level. I mean, there is nobody there. There was the race put out a podcast like today or yesterday where, based off of Christian Horner's comment from recently, that there's nobody on the grid that could be at the level that Max is in this car.
Yeah.
So I think you can take that one of two ways. If you took somebody else and plugged them in that actual RB19, I agree with that statement. However, if you start them back in, 4 or 5 years ago, I disagree with that statement. He has created this perfect little symbiotic relationship with everybody that matters there, and they just have everything working perfectly. I think there are a few drivers in the field that are capable. I think you have obviously Lewis, because we've seen it. Now, is he still that guy? That I don't know. If there's anything that history has told us, it's that sustaining that level of greatness for that long of a period of time takes a toll on that person physically, mentally, emotionally, that can't be understood by anybody that's not them.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see it. Is Lewis still capable of that? I don't know. So like if we're talking about like right now, maybe Lewis is a no. Maybe he is, maybe he's a no. We don't know.
Well, clearly they love Lando because you've heard plenty of Marco comments talking about, unfortunately, his contract is so long.
Man, I wish Helmut would just shut up sometimes.
Oh, wow.
God, man, like why do you even say things like he does all the time? You know, it's like
It's got to be that old age.
Man, maybe. And like if you're a reporter, I'm just sticking a microphone in his face and asking him the most wild question that I could imagine.
And they do.
Because he'll answer it. He'll answer it. You know?
Yeah, apparently he's not an official racing team employee. He's like part of the global brand, so he's unfireable.
Yeah.
And the person he answered to was the CEO that passed away.
Yeah, the owner.
Yeah. So, and whoever the new owner is probably his boss, but yeah, he's not even a part of that team technically. So he's just letting it rip.
That's weird, man. But man, look, Lando, he just hadn't proved it yet. I think Leclerc first half of last season, he's proved, given equal machinery. Like if we're talking about just not in Red Bull, in equal machinery, I think Leclerc has proved it. He can hang with Max. He can beat Max consistently.
Yeah.
You know, Lewis has obviously proved that he, you know, if we're just talking about who on can or has, Lewis has. I don't know if Fernando still has that level in him week in, week out. Maybe he does. I think Fernando's pretty suspect in qualifying, so I think that would be a problem for him. George, I don't think he's done anything. I think the potential is there, but I don't think he's done anything to make me say yes, he could.
Yeah,
I'd put him in the camp with Lando, like maybe not.
Lando should have a win already. I mean, that Monza,
he should.
2 years ago, Monza, they team ordered him to back off of Ricardo because they were hoping to get Ricardo's form back.
Well, man, that goes both ways. Like the drive, anytime you see two teammates line astern, the one behind always says they can go faster.
Yeah.
The one in front is usually being told to maintain a certain pace. So it's easy for the guy behind to just pull right up to the back and be like, hey, I can go faster. I can go faster. When in actuality, they had the 1-2 in the bag. You know, why in the hell would you risk it?
True. But that could have been his win.
Yeah. No, honestly, Russia 21 should have been his win.
Yeah. Oof. That was a fun track, too. It's too bad we're never going to get that again.
I know. That was the one. That was Lando's.
Mm-hmm.
Because Danny Rick didn't do anything, in my opinion, to say he didn't deserve that win.
That's true.
At Monza.
That's
Danny
true.
Rick won that race. You know, like, yeah, team orders came into play, but it was because you had a 1-2 on your hands. And y'all had plenty of opportunities to race before that.
It's true. So where did you think McLaren was going to end up in this race going into it?
Man, I really did not know. We knew they weren't going to be as strong as some of the ceilings that they've been showing.
Yeah.
I think the jury was still out as to where that floor was going to be now. Right? Because previously, pre-updates, the floor was dead freaking last. You know,
Yeah.
like if their car didn't work at that track.
Yeah.
So I felt like we knew it wasn't going to be that, but you really didn't know where they were going to fall, because since the upgrades have come, we haven't seen them on. I mean, I guess Monza's a pretty unique track in general, so it's really not comps, but you know, they struggle in the slow corners, which Monza has a lot of, and they're fairly draggy down the street. So their giant leaps have been in the faster corners where they just fly.
Yeah.
Which, you know, Monza has a couple, but not really. Like Curva Grande is really the only one. Like the Lesmos, you have braking zones into, and even Parabolica. Parabolica is a fast corner, but it's not it's a braking zone, and then you accelerate through a long turn. It's not like one of those turns like Cops or Stowe, where you know you're at 180 miles an hour and you throw the car in there.
Yeah.
And that's where that car really just excels. So I was happy to see that it looked like their floor is still in the points.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean that's hugely beneficial for them.
It's been fun watching a few of these teams compete with, the top 2 to 4 teams. You have not just Ferrari, not just Mercedes. Now you got Aston Martin, and well, it's been a while since Aston Martin, but
Half of
McLaren
Aston Martin
has been up there lately, and it's been fun. It's been fun to watch. We've been waiting so long. Zach Brown's been talking his ass off on this is the year. And then the year comes and it's gonna be a rough start, but we'll get there. And just how much have they promised Lando?
He called it though. To Zach Brown's credit, he was pretty on point, man. Where he was like, wait until the upgrade packages. I mean, even before the season, he was like, look, he's like, we figured out this path, but it's not ready for the beginning of the season. So wait until these upgrade packages start coming, and then we'll know where we're really at. And sure as shit, man, like, I mean, he was right.
That was sweet to watch Lando take pole, or Piastri, and that sprint race, just giving Max run for his money. It was fun to watch for a little bit, but
dude, Piastri,
it's hard to tell.
Is the real deal, man.
Yeah, I know. He's so. I watched that Beyond the Grid show on YouTube where they're all kind of interacting with those fun prompts, and he's like the most composed. Like he looks young, but he's got the composure of like a Nigel Mansell. Like he's just
pretty stoic.
Yeah,
like all business.
Yeah, he reminds me of like an old businessman.
Yeah. No, man, I think that dude is the real freaking deal, man. He is no joke. He is good. I mean, he's up there with Lando week in and week out.
They were fighting in that race. They didn't they collide into turn 1? I can't remember which point of the race it was, but
they've been scrapping it out.
Yeah. I think that was before Hamilton knocked out Piastri. But
Yeah, it was coming out of it was into turn 1 when one of them came out to pits.
Yeah. You just tell Norris is just, he knows he wants to be and has to be the alpha of that team. And he knows what he's up against with Piastri. He's got to keep him behind him.
Man, like, that's going to be an interesting battle.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Lando didn't really have it when Carlos was there, when Sainz was there. he wasn't really that alpha yet.
No.
He was kind of still getting his footing.
Yeah.
And then Carlos was doing really well. Carlos leaves, and they replace him with Danny Rick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you're like, shit. Lando's got to be like, shit, man. Like, here we go again.
Right.
But there had to be a switch that flipped in his head when Carlos left. Like, I don't care who they bring into this team. This is my team going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And he destroyed Danny Rick, man.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, whether it was, I mean, clearly I think Danny Rick had some issues that with the car, with whatever characteristics it's had, that he just could not get around, could not get past.
Yeah.
But Lando was able to do it and figure it out. And he crushed him. You know, so man, like I feel like he probably had like a little sigh of relief when a rookie was coming in, where he's like, I'm the man, you know, like
Right.
this is my team and you're going to be second fiddle. And then halfway through the year, it's like, holy shit, this dude is fast.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's giving me everything I can handle.
And he's had back-to-back bad luck with running into signs the last race, and then Hamilton taking him out.
Yeah, that was brutal. At Spa, I feel like that was. I don't think you'll ever see that from him again. But that corner off of a standing start is unlike anything else in F1. You know, and that quote unquote gap that he thought he saw was never really there.
Right. You got to really fight your instinct on that one, because you know you're boom. You know, that's where I want. It's hard to back out of that, and he couldn't.
Right. You know, but like I said, I don't foresee that happening again. I mean, that was the first time he went into that corner under hot conditions. Because the previous day on a sprint, if I remember correctly, they had a rolling start because of the rain.
Yeah.
That right?
I think so.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just, bro, look, he's checking off a bunch of get it out the way things in his rookie year.
Yeah.
And he's doing it like in a car that's becoming more and more competitive.
It's wild that, you know, it just kind of hit that this is his rookie year, because he does not feel like a rookie whatsoever. Because, you know, we were talking about Logan Sargent earlier. We were talking about even Liam Lawson, and you just see the dynamic form from him already. It's wild to think he's just a rookie.
I know. It really is, man. Like, I lose sight of that all the time, where I'm like, dog, man, like, we talk about this guy like he's a seasoned vet, but he's not. You know, this year one.
I'm trying to remember someone that was a rookie on a mid team or a top team that has done this well. Lewis
came straight into McLaren.
Yeah.
Um,
Everybody else just kind of struggles most of the season, it seems like.
Well, and you know, most of the time too, you get put in a shit team.
Yeah.
When you're
I'm trying to remember a good team that had a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, it's not historically, it wasn't something that you saw top teams do a lot.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like the risk of it. You know, for the longest time.
I guess Albon with Red Bull.
Yeah, that's right. But he didn't start as a rookie. Like, he didn't start the year in Red Bull.
Right.
as a rookie. He got plugged in. But even still, like he didn't. I don't feel like he did nearly the level that Piastri is at
No, not at all.
in that year.
Yeah, definitely not.
But like I remember it was a huge deal when Ferrari signed Leclerc because Ferrari was like the last to the party and like they never signed young drivers. It was just something they didn't do. They wanted experience. They wanted world champions. They wanted, safe pair of hands. But I think they realized, like, finally, hey, the times are changing. Like, if you want to have this guy in your car 8 years from now, you need to sign him now.
Right. Because he made that Alfa Romeo look way better than it was.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Right. Let's jump into Aston Martin a little bit. We don't have to spend much time on these next few teams because, to be honest, there's not a ton of positive to say.
And that's wild to say about Aston Martin because they started off the year so hot. And Alonso, how many podiums did he have? What, 5?
Yeah.
And
that's something that I've been kind of saying the whole time. Like, let's see how this season progresses. Let's see how they can develop that car because it's in the first time we've seen this.
Yeah.
As soon as Lawrence Stroll takes that team over, they do the pink Mercedes. They come out the gate with a vengeance. And then it gets worse and worse and worse and worse all through the year. They didn't develop it because it wasn't theirs.
Right.
It wasn't their design. So they didn't understand it. And I don't care what anybody says. That is what happened that year. You cannot look at that car and say they arrived at that car through their own design, their own development. Like, even down to like the very tip of the nose on the Mercedes, where it came down to a point and it had like the little bubble.
Yep.
Like, come on, man. It's like, and the car.
That's perfectly put. They didn't understand it because that was a rocket ship for a midfield car.
It was, man. But like, you can't develop something that you don't understand. You can put it together and it'll go fast, but.
And that makes sense for all these floor pictures you see, when these cars are crashing and getting lifted up in the air with a crane. And you're like, why can't they just, they pay photographers to take the pictures of the floor, and Adrian knew he's never worried about it because he said, you got to understand the whole car to figure out why we have the floor like we do.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, Aston Martin's just been a disappointment to me because, we kept hearing that it's just going to get better. Alonso was going to say, can't wait to get on the top step of the podium. We got some upgrades coming, and then those upgrades were downgrades. So then they had to revert back to an older development and then upgrade from there. And now they're too far behind. And Stroll, I don't know if it's his wrists or if it's his. I can't pinpoint the difference.
I don't know if this is one of those deals where, kind of like Checo, where
just not comfortable.
Whatever the path of or the characteristics of this car, he just can't get around it. Or like Danny Rick with the McLaren. Right. It just, whatever it is, whatever the tendencies that this car has, it does not jive with him.
That makes sense because he was not that far from Vettel.
No, he was right there with Seb.
Right.
He beat him a fair amount. He might have beat him. Let me look. I don't even remember if he beat him in the standings last year. No, he didn't. but he didn't beat him. But either way, he wasn't that far off.
Yeah.
So man, that's gotta be it. Maybe the wrist thing, I don't know. But dude, he's got to get it together next year.
Yeah. What does Daddy Stroll do? Is he? I mean, now that he's got that money tied up into it, he can't just keep putting his son out there like that.
No,
or will his son leave? I mean, they keep putting out rumors that he's going to play tennis or something.
I've heard that. I kept hearing that, man. I have no idea.
I think there might be someone that looks like him that did well in a tournament recently.
Oh, really?
And I think that might be if it's a troll. Otherwise, I don't know.
I don't know, man. But look, I'll tell you right now, look, Lawrence he's no longer a sponsor. He's an owner.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference to spending a bunch of money as a sponsor to have your son a drive and to have a whole bunch of pull and sway in the team and being the owner of said team and having your son be the reason why you're missing out of a whole bunch of money in your pockets.
Ooh, that'd be a hard decision. I mean, what would you? I mean, I think that it's the obvious answer. I mean,
look, I think you give him all the opportunity,
right?
But there's gonna come a certain point where maybe you give him next year, but it's one of those things. Like, how competitive is the car come the end of the year?
I'm looking up, see when his contract is up. Oh, his is the unknown contract.
Yeah, like it's just, it's my dad.
Yeah.
But I think that as an owner, Lawrence Stroll is an uber successful businessman. Right. So there's going to be a cutoff point that happens where he says, okay, we have a real shot to challenge here. I need to make a decision on, I need to replace Lance because he is holding us back clearly. I mean, that's evident this year. But
do you think Lawrence could have had any effect or influence on the car developing downwards? Like, hey, Lance is not keeping up with the way we're developing the car. We need to start back over and see if we can get him comfortable. Or
I don't think.
Yeah.
I think if you did that, I think you would lose every good person that you spent all that time bringing in, because I don't think they would want to be a part of that. I wouldn't.
Well, here comes my hot take then. And I think after 2024, whether Red Bull wants him or not, I think Checo's leaving. And I think he's going to go back to his favorite team. And he'll go right back to that garage. If you see after every podium finish he gets in Red Bull, he's the Aston Martin engineers and pit crew, everybody from the garage, his old people, they're always out there. I don't see that from any other team. And he was asked in an interview about who he's closest with on the grid, and he did say Lance. So having that connection, he could either be a replacement for Alonso or be someone that replaces Lance. But that's my hot take. I think Checo's going to go that way.
I can see that, which is ironic considering he was going to be out of a drive.
I know.
But he didn't leave them. They released him.
Right. Which is wild.
Yeah.
But they couldn't turn down Vettel. I mean, they four-time champion. It was just too.
I feel like they had to get Vettel for his knowledge of how a top team operates,
Yeah.
not what he was doing on the track at the time, clearly. Because that when Seb lost it, he lost it.
Yeah, he just didn't have the fire. It was
He
fun
lost.
to watch him in his last race with him and Alonso going at it all the way to the line, but
Yeah. He lost that dog in him.
I know, isn't that crazy?
You know, like, man, early in his career, the Red Bull days and even a lot of the Ferrari days, he was a killer, man. And he was
I
stone
know.
cold. He didn't give a shit. Like, he was just a savage. And he lost it, dude. Like, it was evident. I feel like Leclerc killed that part of him. Like, I think Seb realized I don't think it was they had a good relationship, but I think there was just realization by Seb, like, I think I'm past my time.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden Aston was like, hey, here's a boatload of money. Like, oh yeah, sure. I definitely still got it. I want to keep going. I still want it.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah.
That's Aston Martin.
Yeah, I do think that if Stroll doesn't get his act together next season, he will not be there in 25.
Yeah. You think McLaren can catch Aston Martin?
Where are they at right now?
Behind. Yeah, it looks like they're pretty far behind. 102 points.
102.
But that's usually only with Alonso scoring. But now that both.
It depends because it kind of seems like their cars are good at similar tracks, at the same tracks. So, you know, if it was the opposite of that, if they were the opposite of each other, you would have McLaren scoring double big points when Fernando's scoring, 2-3 points.
Right.
And Lance isn't scoring points. But now if you have when you're good, you're scoring double points, but Fernando's also scoring, 18, 15, whatever. 12, whatever it is. You're not really gouging them out like you would need to be at this point.
Yeah.
And then if Lance happens to stick it up there in P7 or P8, then it's really not good for you. So I don't know. I think that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
For them to run down. McLaren would have to have like a couple like double podiums.
Yeah.
In order to make that happen. And have Fernando not score great points.
Yeah.
How about this one? Do you think Ferrari can run down Mercedes?
I do. I think
they've been closing the gap. They're only 40, 5?
And they have a quality type car. It just feels like they're kind of always got that one lap pace in them. Now that they had a good run in Monza, it feels like we could see it. But you'd have to have both of them up there.
Yeah, I think Ferrari will be decent in Singapore.
Yeah, that's kind of their track.
There's no high speed sweeping turns in it that kill Ferrari. Right. It's a lot of hard braking zone, 90-degree turns, low end.
Yeah.
Power is key, and they're great on that. And then they took another section out and made it a straightaway.
And that was a nasty section too.
Yeah, I think that'll benefit them greatly.
Yeah.
All right, let's get in here. Alpine was an absolute shit show. I almost feel like it was intentionally worse than it had to be, just to prove their point about their bitching and complaining about the freaking power and engine freeze.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You knew this engine freeze was coming. You did a piss poor job. Your entire organization is a dumpster fire. There's no exception for you to catch up to the rest of them. You know, if you can prove that you can fix something because of a reliability issue and that can help you out, fine. But I am firmly against allowing that an exception for them to equalize the engines. That is stupid. That can't happen. That's not Formula One.
That's classic Renault right there.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, Renault's been struggling for how many years now? I mean, Red Bull took the jump, took a championship contender after they switched to Honda engines.
Yeah.
Renault was constant. I mean, if Renault isn't Renault, which I can't believe Danny Rick left to go to Renault, but Renault was the reason why he left Red Bull. He was thinking that he could have better shot somewhere else.
Man, I don't remember. Man, and this just could be a hindsight deal for Christian, but maybe it was the money. Maybe Renault just paid him a shitload of money, and he was like, like he had that's why he wanted to leave Red Bull was because of Renault. And at the time, Honda was hot garbage.
Yeah, they were.
It's like there wasn't any real reason to have like real hope in Honda. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, here's my two options, Renault or Red Bull, stay at Red Bull. And Renault's going to throw me a shitload of money. Yeah, okay, let's go.
I think they need to sell the team.
Man,
but they're just so integrated into all the other series. It's hard to imagine that. They have one of the best junior programs as far as developing talent. But you just see them in all the series. It's hard to imagine they could just leave F1. But talking about getting their shit together, that is the number one team that has disappointed this year.
That it is just a dumpster fire, and I think all of that was exposed last year in last year's silly season.
Oh my gosh!
And I think Fernando 100% saw the writing on the walls. And then like a month or so ago, this Beyond the Grid podcast episode comes out. I don't know if you listened to that one at all.
A few times.
With Tom Clarkson.
Mm-hmm.
The freaking episode with Otmar released the week he got fired. But like you go listen to that episode, and there's all kinds of just things in there that while I'm listening, I didn't even like when I listened to it, nobody had any idea this was happening in the public yet.
Right.
So I'm listening to this, and I literally called David after I listened to it and was like, bro, you have got to go listen to this. Like, we always talk about Alpine being a dumpster fire. I'm like, Otmar just came on this podcast and was, from the things he said, like, nobody's on the same page. None of them. Like, talking about their 100 race plan and, like, nobody knows when it started. And it's like, that's a problem.
Right.
And then you look at, there was like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 things that he said where it's like, good God, that's not good. And then you look at, the way they handled all their drivers, and then just I think it wound up working out for the short term pretty well for how badly they botched the situation. But because I think a lot of Gasly, man, I think he's done phenomenal since his deal at Red Bull.
You got to feel bad for the guy, being stuck in an AlphaTauri, going downhill.
Well, I
And
think
then ended up into
that was a
Alpine.
great thing for him
Yeah.
because I mean, shit, he won a race for him in that
Malaysia, yeah.
AlphaTauri. You know, like I think he refound himself and he made the best out of a terrible situation and really turned himself and solidified his place on the grid long term as a potential high level driver.
You said that in the season preview with Bahrain testing. The Gasly could he's kind of getting forgotten about, but he's up there in terms of talent level with Leclerc and Lando.
I wouldn't put him that high. I would stick him with like that next tier. As of right now,
at this point, do you think he could compete with Lando and Leclerc, knowing that he's been through that Red Bull saga?
I think it would take a year or two of him getting into a car that's capable of hanging there.
Yeah.
And then it would take him kind of having to go through that process of learning how to fight at the front week in and week out.
Right.
I think that's a natural progression. And like I'll talk about it all the time where you have these steps, like there's steps to it, and you can have the talent to do it. But until you get there and have to do it week in and week out, you don't know how to do that. And then there's, like everyone falls at some point in that process, And then there's like a whole nother level where it's like the first time that, yeah, you're at the front, you've been at the front, but now you're a legit title contender. And you have to learn how to manage that for a whole season. So I think that's yet to be seen with Pierre. Do I think he has the potential? Yes. But I would not put him on a Leclerc level yet. Maybe Lando might be a good comp because if you look at like what they've accomplished, it's probably pretty similar. I think Lando gets held in a lot higher regard just because I think he's been in a better team situation. His career has been a slightly just steady uptick opposed to Gasly. He's kind of up and down, up and down.
Yeah, he's been the stock
in his
market.
trajectory. But I think Lando's a pretty good comp for Pierre. But hey, I mean, Pierre's got a race win. Lando doesn't.
That's true. I just don't think Alpine's going to figure it out, though.
No, I don't either. I don't have faith in him at all.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be faster than they were. I still thought they were going to be a dumpster fire, but it just seemed like they were going to be faster than they are going into the season. Now they're just so up and down, but their low is low.
They're lucky Williams didn't come on until just now because they're 52 ahead of Williams.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. And Williams doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, not now.
Of getting that because, like, I don't think, with the exception of like a bunch of cars, DNFing.
It's been crazy to see Williams in qualifying.
Dude, Alpine's just like the low key MVP of this season.
Yeah, no kidding.
He really is, man. So right, we are one other thing. Bottas rounded out the points.
Yeah.
Finally. Got some good news for Bottas.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't remember them showing him one time during the race.
Yeah.
But good for him. We touched on, I had my little rundown here. I had Yuki and AlphaTauri last on here, but we spent a good bit of time on them.
Yeah.
All right. Hit us with Haas. What you got?
Haas Racing, who's a customer of Ferrari. And it's ironic that they are even in F1, in my opinion, because they just cannot do anything. They look so bad. They look worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's sad because you've got two decent drivers. With Kevin Magnussen, you saw what he could do last year. His consistency. Hulkenberg has always been a fighter. He's gotten the most out of that car this year. And it's just, they can't put anything together. They're driving their tires so aggressively and overheating those tires without even battling people. They're not even in the race. They're just trying to finish the race. And they cannot stop overheating those tires. And they're not changing anything.
Right.
And the race pace is so poor. Everybody loves Gunther Steiner for his Drive to Survive commentary. But this is one team I just can't believe is an American team. And Gene Haas, who does well in NASCAR, I just can't. And I think he even has some drag teams.
Well, IndyCar now.
Yeah.
He's kind of got his hands in everything. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, he just – and look, this is why Formula One is great. All those other series are spec series.
Right.
This is what's great about F1 is that you have to know what you're doing. You have to – even if you're buying the maximum amount from Ferrari, from Mercedes, whatever, you have to know how to work it. You got to know why it's doing this. You got to be able to take that kit car, essentially, integrate your pieces to it, and understand the whole concept and be able to bring it forward. And clearly they can't this year, which it's kind of surprising how bad they've been. Now, look, I understand 20 and 21 because COVID all but destroyed that team, and they were essentially in just a survival mode for that year. And they came out at the beginning and was like, listen, there is zero budget to develop. We are running what we have currently for the entire season. Good luck, drivers, but don't expect anything. We're staying afloat so we can afford to develop for the new regs.
Yeah.
So I understand that. But before that, they were a really good small midfield team.
Yeah.
That would consistently punch way above their weight and beat, the likes of Renault or McLaren or whoever, like big teams.
Grosjean was like constantly getting P6s.
Yeah. K-Mag too, they were strong, man. And I don't know what's happened. I don't know if F1 has changed to the point where it's eliminated whatever they were good. Maybe they had like a little niche carved out. I don't know. I really have no idea what it is, but they have been dreadful.
It's sad to see. And this is the one team I'm okay with leaving F1 for Andretti coming in if they stay at 10.
So I can't see them leaving because even what they're doing now, like they're making so much money and their valuation is so high.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I don't think Gene Haas is going to do it.
Because Red Bull was going to sell, they were going to sell AlphaTauri, and those valuations came out, and they're like, actually, we'll
hold on to that.
We're gonna put more into AlphaTauri now.
Yeah. But like that's a big point of contention right now is Andretti, right? I wanted to touch on that.
Good.
Because I really think that I agree with the position of most of all these teams where, okay, we have a great thing going now. The sport is in the most financially stable place it's ever been. All of the teams are financially stable, which has never been a thing in Formula One. It was a revolving door of teams that you had to learn year in and year out. Who's the new young little guy? And I think that's a great thing for the sport to have all the teams being not worrying about keeping the doors open. However, their one thing is like, okay, we have a pie right now that has 10 pieces in it. If we want to add an 11th piece, that team has to bring value. Well, I get that logic for teams like Mercedes and Red Bull and Ferrari. And I'll still give McLaren access to that part of the table. Haas is one that doesn't want it. Alpine's one that doesn't want it. Alfa Romeo was one that didn't want it. What the fuck do y'all bring to the table in terms of value?
I agree.
Like if you want to really talk about value, how about the millions and millions and millions of current Andretti racing fans that have been following them since I've been alive? Like
the last American winner of an F1 race is Mario Andretti. 1978.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Andretti.
But dude, like Andretti is the real deal.
Yeah.
Like they are not a joke of a racing outfit. They are, when it comes to F1, they are going to come to the table of the big boys when it comes to what they're willing to do, what they're willing to commit financially, what all of it. This is not a Haas operation. They have partnered with a giant in the automotive field. Like anything that F1 has thrown at them that they wanted, Andretti has grabbed it and checked that box, with flying colors.
Yeah, entry fee went from 200 to 600 million. And still was like, we're good, we'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's Andretti becoming a team would bring instantly more value to F1, especially in the exploding US market, than 6 out of the 10 current teams.
100% agree. 100%.
So Alpine, I would almost put in a class of their own because they do have deep racing roots.
Yeah.
In a ton of other series across Europe and throughout all these other
basically
series.
Every series.
Yeah. So they get a pass, but they still don't get to sit in the big boy table because they just screw it up so bad all the time. In F1. But every other team shouldn't even get a say.
I agree. But they all get an equal say.
Right. But, I mean, dude, Andretti instantly brings more value.
Yeah.
Than, honestly, dude, like, maybe even, I feel like McLaren has lost a significant amount of their swagger over the last 10 years when they lost Lewis and he went to Mercedes and then Mercedes started winning.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of those fans defected because that coincided with McLaren being absolute trash. So I feel like a lot of those fans just slid over and were like, oh, we're Mercedes fans now. So I don't know, man. Like, I think Andretti could, the amount of market share that they could just instantly add in the US market, because Andretti, across all racing, but especially in the United States, it's a household name.
Yeah.
You know, like
Exactly.
everybody knows the Andretti name, and they don't even know, some of them, they don't even know why they know it, but they know it.
Yep.
So if they don't let them in, I hope Andretti fights it with everything that they got, because the word on the street is like the FIA is going to approve the application, but then F1 still has to vote them in.
I read that there was like something in the bylaws that they would have to nitpick to find to be able to keep them out. Like essentially, unless they find, and I can't remember what they were exactly, but there's like a few nitpicky details that if they don't find those on Andretti, then them voting to keep them out violates the bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hopeful. I feel like we're closer than ever to Andretti coming in.
I would be willing to trade Haas for Andretti.
Yes.
As long, under the provision that Gunther becomes the team principal for Andretti.
You like Gunther?
I just think he's a necessary dude in the sport. Like, you need, nobody's blunt anymore. No, like, to his level.
Right.
Like, Toto's blunt, Christian's blunt, but it's always like with this certain edge, right?
He keeps it real.
Like, Gunther is just brutally honest. And it's awesome, but he also brings like a certain amount of just like levity to certain situations, you know? You know,
He's
like
relatable. He's relatable to how we would feel in those
he's just
moments.
he seems just like a normal dude
Yeah.
that says whatever comes to his mind.
Right.
And just like he'd be on a podcast talking shit as if he wasn't even involved in F1.
Right.
You know? And I do think he's good at his job, but I think personally, I don't think Gene Haas is truly invested in F1.
Right.
So I don't think, like, we're talking about ceilings earlier, like maybe those years early on, like Haas was just, it was at a spot where because of the regulations were a certain way, they were able to do a certain, you know, get to a certain level. And maybe that's just not possible anymore with the way that Haas is set up.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, with that being said, you got anything else you want to add in Formula One racing in general, whether it's Formula One or anything else? Or
I think we're gonna have exciting into the season, and I think we're gonna get a lot of close matchups between the top 4 or 5 teams. It'll be fun to watch. I'm just hoping for some changes in some teams, just for entertainment wise. You know, maybe seeing Mick Schumacher back. You know, he's got that connection with Mercedes, and you know, they work pretty closely with Williams. I could see Mick going to, I know you said Yuki going to Williams, but I could see Mick going to Williams. And I would like to see him get a shot. Just like, I love his father so much.
I said that the other day. Might have been on the summer break podcast that we did. I think I had said that I could definitely see that Mick going to Williams, because he's in that Mercedes pipeline now.
Right. I think he's being groomed for it. They were really pumping him up with the simulator work and the press. And I think with that James Voles connection, I think if Sargent can't keep that car on the track, then he's going. I think Mick will get one more shot.
I think Sargent's done.
Yeah.
It's just we can play the game until it's announced, and I think it'll be a fun game of who it's going to be.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think it's going to be Sargent. Like, he hasn't shown anything to make you say, like, okay, he struggled, but there was this and this where, like, look, I mean, that's in there.
Right.
I mean, I think DeVries being on the grid was the best thing for Sargent, and now that's gone. So,
yeah,
you know.
Now he's got to outperform Lawson.
That ain't happening.
Yeah, Lawson's a beast.
From the looks of it.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a cool customer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, other than that, I am a proud Checo fan. I think he's got his form back, and I think we'll see a strong finish to the end of the season, as I predicted in the season preview.
Yeah. I don't know. I would expect him to do very well this week, being that he seems to always do very well at street tracks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see, man. For me, just the concerning thing for me with Checo is there's no rhyme or reason as to why he has these like slumps. You know what I mean? Like,
middle of season.
Like even like, let's take the disparity between him and Max out of the equation. That car is still faster than every other car on the grid. So why is there, like, you still, like, you can't put your finger on a track and be like, oh, okay, yeah, Checo's not gonna be good here. It's just like, it's at such random. That's what concerns me about him, because you're not, it's just like so unpredictable.
And this year's slump matches last year's slump. Like, we got two slumps in a row, and that's what's concerning.
Yeah.
And when you watch him not get out of Q3 or Q1, sorry,
that's unacceptable. It just is. Like, that cannot happen in this car.
Yeah. Even if you're not comfortable with it, like Q1,
bro, like that car, they ought to, even before the stupid idea that they had to make him run hard, medium, soft during qualifying.
Right.
You ought to be in Q1. You ought to be able to strap hards on that car when everybody else is on softs and get out of Q1.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for real.
Yeah.
And when he has the pace, like on the bad weekends, even the weekends when he had the pace, he put it in the wall.
Right.
He'd wreck it. Or put it in the gravel or whatever, you know, like just all these mistakes.
And he's got such a good race pace.
Could you
imagine if he could qualify well? If he could qualify on pole with that race pace he constantly has, like, it'd be fascinating to watch. You know, we watch Sainz keep Max back for 15 laps. It'd be fascinating to watch Checo try to keep Max back if Checo got pole, because we haven't seen that yet this season. Anytime they've gotten close to each other, there's been pit stops.
Well, to be fair, I don't think he would stand a chance, personally.
Well, Max is another planet at this point.
But I mean, dude, look at Zandvoort. He wound up with a massive advantage on Max after that first series of pit stops, because he was able to pit on that first lap.
I know, I was so excited.
He had a huge advantage, bro. There was a point where Max was taking 5 seconds a lap
I know.
in those wet conditions. Like, bro, like if that wasn't a golden opportunity for Checo to break out of his slump, like, man, come on,
And he
bro.
called that one too. They didn't want him to pit. And he goes, "No, I want to pit now." And they're like, "Okay." And it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, 100%, man. And
Yeah.
then, God, come on, Checo.
Checo's my boy, but I don't know if I can mentally handle him being at Red Bull anymore. So I'm ready for him to go to Aston Martin, and I can enjoy watching Leclerc try to fight Max.
That would be such an interesting pairing. I hadn't even thought about that. Aston Martin with Alonso and Checo.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think it'd be fun, and especially that chemistry he already has built. You know, for him to win that race, and yeah, some stuff needed to happen. That race he won with Racing Point. You know, getting spun out in the first lap, coming back from P20.
Yeah.
You know, it'd just be great to see that kind of chemistry again. Without all that pressure, too.
Right.
You know, you got your chief Red Bull guy constantly.
Well, I think he
Putting
got
pressure on you.
he got a little bit of false hope. You know what I mean?
I know. I did too. But we all learned our lesson this year. Very quickly.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, let's put a button on this one.
Okay. You gonna do the quote this time?
I got a quote. I don't know if David's done it before. I don't think so. But maybe he has, maybe he hasn't, but we're gonna reuse it if he has. Auto racing, bullfighting, and mountain climbing are the only real sports. All the others are games.
Yes.
By Ernest Hemingway.
Wow.
I don't know a ton about Hemingway, but I like him.
Yeah, no kidding.
Based off of that quote.
No kidding.
But no, man, this has been awesome. I forgot beforehand. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Podium Proof F1. And go ahead and give your page a plug.
Yeah, so
we just got into it right off the bat and didn't even do all the plugs. David's gonna fuss me.
Yeah, he is. He's probably listening a little bit. He'll check you on that. But yeah, I'm on YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok, Instagram, all Boom F1. You'll see the nice yellow or pink and blue type neon in the profile picture. So come find me there. And, you know, Podium Proof F1's my favorite page, and you guys should check them out. So we're on the up and up.
Let's go. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see y'all next week after Singapore.